They loved him. He gave them money. He paid for their campaigns. He was in Hollywood. He was the darling of Hollywood. How many shows was he on? TV shows. He was on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He was a show. He did little spots on tons of TV shows until he got his own TV show and become a reality show host, right? Hollywood loved him. They don't love him so much anymore, do they? It's because he's a game changer. He's upsetting their apple cart. The big free ride of corruption and greed and money in Washington, D.C. is at risk here. That's why they're working so hard to destroy this man. And it's not him they want to destroy, it's us. They want to control your health care. Michael Bloomberg wants to control what you eat and drink. The Democrats, the whole Green New Deal is about control. It's all about control. So Chuck Schumer, when he says we want the fair deal in the trial of the Senate, he doesn't. This is him trying to finagle a way to win back the Senate. That's what he's trying to do. He wants to somehow make this play to the American public that, look, these Republicans aren't going to follow in line with us, and they're hiding things. It's a big cover-up. There's no cover-up here. The only cover-up is what the Democrats are hiding, the corruption they've been hiding for decades. And if you don't think this is all somehow tied in with the sex trafficking and the Epstein, you keep thinking that. It's not true. It is true. There's a sickness and an evilness, not only in this country, but around the world, and it's got something to do with Epstein. You think I'm wrong? He didn't hang himself, folks. He didn't hang himself. Like my tree didn't hang all the ornaments on it by themselves either. I had to do that. Somebody took care of Mr. Epstein. Don't get me on that one. It's too late in the evening to go that way. But the impeachment has now moved to the Senate. And I think on Tuesday, it'll get going. They swore in John Roberts, Chief Justice, who will preside over the Senate trial. And they swore in, I think, all 100 senators. So, and here's another thing. You really want to put your tinfoil on? Are the Democrats trying to persuade what's going to happen in their own primary by doing this? Because how are they going to jive this weeks off before the Iowa caucus, the first Iowa caucus here, by taking all the senators off the campaign trail? Which leads me to another question. Frankly, how can senators who are running for president of the United States actually be allowed to vote on an impeachment of the president of the United States that they will be running against? Is that not the biggest conflict of interest in the world? Shouldn't there be some recusals from Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar? Where are the recusals? I haven't heard one person. I haven't heard a law professor. I haven't heard anyone in the media discuss it. Should there not be recusals of certain senators who are running for office for the president of the United States against Donald Trump, the same guy that they're now going to vote out? If that's not a conflict of interest, what is? It's crazy how we can allow that to happen. You're asking Barr to recuse himself. They asked Jeff Sessions to recuse himself. And yet, all these Democrats who are running for president get to vote on whether to impeach the current president of the United States, who they'll be running against in the fall? Don't think so. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, if you're asking me. Who am I? I'm just a guy, right? Okay, so listen, what I'm going to ask you to do one more time is go to thedailydrift.com, and you can actually subscribe to thedailydrift.com. You can have it delivered to your inbox so you don't have to go to the webpage. And don't worry about me taking your information. I can't. I don't know how to use that information. I have no way to collate your information or anything else. But you can if you stick your email in there, you'll get a link sent to your inbox, into your mailbox, whatever email you give it, and it'll show up in your box every day, and that way you don't have to go to the web page looking for it. Makes it easy, right? All right, well, let's keep on with the dailydrift.com. So there's a story that the General Accounting Office said yesterday in a report that the Trump administration broke the law by suspending the aid to Ukraine for the short period of time that they did because Congress had approved it. And so the GAO's recommendation is that there was their interpretation, I guess I should say, is that the Trump administration broke the law by withholding aid for a period of time from Ukraine, even though Ukraine didn't even know there was that hold on their aid at the point. But that kind of is strange because it was just last month when the Office of Management and Budget wrote a memorandum to the Government Accountability, the GAO office, saying that it wasn't. The Washington Post reported the existence of the memorandum and published it, and it largely overlooked in favor of the day's lengthy impeachment debate in the House Judiciary. It makes it a little different story than what the GAO is reporting today. See, in this memo, the Office of Management and Budget begins by explaining that it often holds up funding to federal agencies in the regular course of business under its apportionment authority, often for reasons as mundane as making sure funding is being spent efficiently. Well, hello! It's not that Donald Trump kept Ukraine from getting their money, because they did get it. And he never got anything in return for it, which is the big nonsense. But the Office of Management and Budget, which works with the GAO, just plainly said right here. So why is it that all of a sudden the GAO changes this story around on the day that Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats bring the House articles of impeachment over to the Senate? Really? You think that's a coincidence? Does it sound like a coincidence to you? Or does it sound more like the deep state shenanigans we see so often with the bureaucracy that's in Washington, D.C.? And let's be honest, this is all about the bureaucracy, right? And this is the problem with when people get entrenched. You'll see this anywhere you go, at your insurance agencies, at Blue Cross Blue Shield, at the Secretary of State's office. You get people that become so entrenched in government. And that's part of the thing. Yeah, there was a time in our country when being a civil servant was something you did as a matter of pride because you wanted to give back to the community. Your wages were lower, but you got taken care of. You had a pretty good retirement, right? They had good pensions for you, but you didn't make a lot of money, but you knew that you were there to make things better. You were there as kind of a volunteer type of thing. You were doing it for the country. You were doing it for your community. And that's no longer the case. We've now got probably 2 generations, maybe 3, of people who've been working for the government who feel entitled. You know, it's no different than our children today. A lot of our young kids, mine included, they feel entitled. You know, that's that entitlement mentality. Young Americans, our millennials, feel that way. The snowflakes that we so often call them, they feel entitled that they should get this for free. They shouldn't have to work so hard for it. Our kids feel that way. It's no different with adults. People that have... You'll see it in the unions too, right? You're in there for 30 years. You think you're entitled to everything. You don't work so hard. You slack off. I know better than you. You get that feeling of entitlement. You get that feeling, dare I say, of superiority, which I think goes back to the whole idea of this ruling class, right? They think they're better than us. They think they're smarter than us. They think they're entitled to know better because you know what? They know what's best for not only them, they know what's best for you. Do you believe that? Do you agree with that? Do you think somebody in Washington, D.C., or in your own state capital knows what's better for you than you? I know they don't know what's better for me than me. I can tell you that because they don't know me. And there's no bigger thing to say than right now, those people out there in Washington, D.C., or in your own state capital, they don't know you. They don't know what you're going through. They don't know how hard you work. They don't see that it's your tax money that they're spending. It's their money. They don't feel it's your money. They feel it's their money. That's what it comes down to. And that's why we have to get involved. And you want to talk about term limits? Term limits are a lot of people say we've got to have term, and for the most part, I agree. I think we do need to have some term limits, and I wish our founding fathers had a little more foresight, but maybe they couldn't see how evil and greedy and corrupt people could be. It was a simpler time then, right? Maybe they didn't see what was coming in the future. They were pretty good prognosticators for the most part. But I don't think they could have imagined the level of greed and corruption that would have. They probably couldn't imagine the size either of what the country would become back then. They probably couldn't have envisioned that the entire continent would become the United States of America. They probably couldn't have envisioned the fact. They probably couldn't even imagine what $1 trillion was. I remember as a kid about thinking billions was the billions. That was the biggest. It doesn't get any bigger than billions. And now we're in the trillions. So you got to go back 250 years ago and think the founding fathers probably had no idea what $1 trillion was. Probably didn't even think what $1 billion was. But they did pretty good. So term limits, obviously something needs to be done because you know what? I think that's just human nature, you know. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I think that's part of what you're seeing in Washington, D.C. We've seen some good people go to Washington, D.C. and become corrupted. I won't say names. I've seen people go there and they get involved, and no, it's not right. I don't know that I would ever want to. There was times I thought about running for. I did run for state senate here in the state of Michigan at one point. Didn't win, thank goodness. God only knows how ugly my life would have been had that happened, because I'm not the kind of guy to try to get in line and be part of the group. I've always been the outsider and the renegade and the smart mouth and the guy causing trouble, right? That's just me. But each and every one of us has to work, because you know what? We have that choice of whether we're going to send somebody back for a second, third term, or a third term, or a fourth term. For me, I would like to see a rule put into place where people can't run consecutively. Because the thing that bothers me even more than the people that are there for 30 or 40 years is the fact that in a 2-year term in Congress, especially if you're new, that first year you're going to learn, you're probably not doing a whole lot. Second year, you're already looking to get reelected. So I'm paying you $174,000 as a congressman to spend the last year of your 2-year term trying to find a way to get elected? Out doing fundraising, out talking to the voters on the campaign stump, doing whatever you've got to do, talking with the lobbyists to get some more money out of K Street. I don't want to see that. If I'm paying you $174,000 a year, I want to see you doing my work. Well, frankly, I'd rather you not do anything. Go up there and do nothing. Because most of the crap you churn out in Washington, D.C. is nothing but hurting me as a citizen anyways, and as a taxpayer. But I would like to see not being able to run consecutively. So you go to Washington, D.C., whether it's a 2-year term in the House or a 6-year term in the Senate, you do your term, you go home. You want to become senator or congressman again? You got 2 or 6 years to figure out how to do it. Go campaign on your own time and your own dime. That's what I want to see. I don't want you out there doing your business to get reelected on my dollar. I don't like that. I don't think it's efficient. I don't think it's right, because you know what? You're not making decisions, honest decisions, that would be helpful to us, the people at home. I think if you have to go to Washington, D.C. and make 2 years' worth of rules and then come home and work under those 2 years of rules, well, you might make a different decision, right? Knowing that you had to live under the same rules. I don't like the fact that they get unlimited pensions and better health care than everyone else. You know what? Come live under the same health care and pensions the rest of us do. Put your 401k together. If you got to go home and find a real job, make some real money, knock yourself out. Become a corporate CEO or something and make your money, and then run again later on when you feel like it and have the money. That's what bothers me. Okay, so let's shift gears here. And the last couple of things I want to cover before the end of the show is a couple of breaking news that we've seen over the last 24 hours on Twitter even. It looks like, and if you're a Twitter or Facebook person, you've probably seen these, right? These allegations against Representative Ilhan Omar from Minnesota.